Welcome to J.A.M Media, or J.A.M for short, where I cover all of the topics that I'm passionate about, which often ranges from music to sport to movies and video games. Recently, I got to speak with one half of Hermitude, Luke Dubs, ahead of his performance at the Australian Open of Surfing this weekend. Let's stop messing about though and get to my interview with Luke. The last couple of years have seen Hermitude on a pretty rapid rise all over the world. How has that ride been?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been we've travelled so much, we've covered so much ground. It's been a lot of fun to break into the American scene as well and get on a bunch of great festivals over there and also get in the studio and collaborate with people over there and Europe as well. It's just been a pretty crazy roller coaster, and we feel like we haven't even had a chance to catch our breath, but it's now that this year is kind of starting up and we're going to start going into hibernation to write a record. So I guess we have to step off the roller coaster sometime.
I was going to ask later, have you begun work on the new record, or is it still sort of in the planning phase?
Yeah, we kind of write when we're on the road, like wherever we can, just on laptops and that kind of thing. And it's an interesting one, writing on the road. It's not easy when you're cramped in an aeroplane, like in a middle seat between two people, and you're trying to, vibe up and write a song. So sometimes it's hard, but then again, sometimes it works. So we've got a bunch of ideas that we've worked on while we've been away, and now that we're home, we can kind of bring them into the studio and kind of dissect them a bit and flesh them out, and also just write some new stuff, like just start some songs from scratch, which we've pretty much just started doing over the last couple of weeks.
And is there more pressure now coming off the back of such a successful record?
I guess it depends on how you want to view it. I mean, we try not to look into it too much. We try not to think about it just because it's, it can kind of mount up a little bit. There's always, people are really keen to hear what you're coming with, and you can get into that mind state of, we've got to follow up with something even better. But I guess you can also look at it from a positive angle, or a different, not necessarily positive, but just a different angle in the sense that, now that we've reached this point, we're at a great position and we have a great platform to share with everybody whatever it is, that we want to share this next time around. So I guess we're trying to take that standpoint and just we're just grateful that we've gained such a massive and loyal fan base, and we're hoping that they're going to enjoy the next ride with us as well.
And when you were working on Dark Night, Sweet Light, that album would be so important for your career?
We hoped it would, but we didn't really, it's impossible to tell when you're in it. It's such I know it sounds like a cliche statement, but it is such a journey writing the record, and as soon as it's done, it's kind of out and the world can hear it and, make of it what they will, and then we go off and, tour and just play it all around the world, which is fantastic as well. But writing a record, you get so involved in the music, like that you're just listening to the songs over and over again as you're writing them during the day, and then when you kind of away from the studio, we've got the sketches on our phones and we're listening in the car, and so you pretty much just, your whole life gets absorbed by the music and what you're trying to create. And so sometimes it's hard to see out the other end, what the finished result's even going to sound like, or how people will react to it, or if it's going to be successful or if it's not. We were hoping, obviously, that, coming off the back of Hyper Paradise, which was a big record for us, that we'd be able to follow it up with something just as good, if not better. So we were pretty happy when we came out the other end, and it was well received. It's definitely a little weight off the shoulders.
And do you have any personal highlights from the past couple of years touring as well?
Just travelling, we've been to so many great places. We played a gig in Malta last year, which was a really cool experience. Malta's such a trippy place, it's just it feels like just this tiny rock in the middle of ocean, and there's barely any trees, and it's got such a bizarre landscape. Everything's so kind of flat, but like we went to these incredible beaches that were super secluded and private, and so I guess just there's a gazillion, well not a gazillion, but there's a whole bunch of stories like that, you know, that we're just lucky enough to go to these remote places, and it's great, you know. Electronic music festivals, they love putting on festivals here as well, you know, in Australia, but all over the world. People are putting on festivals in remote, weird places, you know. So we ended up out in this guy's ranch in Canada for this festival called Shambhala, and you know, we played EDC in Vegas, which was in a NASCAR arena, and that was mental as well. So I think just the personal highlights are definitely like the traveling, and another big one was playing the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney, actually, for our hometown show. Selling out the Hordern was definitely a huge milestone for us.
In March, you're coming back to perform in Sydney for the Australian Open of Surfing. Are you surfing fans yourselves?
No, I am a hopeless swimmer. I can barely keep my head above water. And so when I go to the beach, it's like it's pretty dismal as I'm kind of trying to escape the waves as quickly as I can. I'm more of a concrete guy. Like I grew up skateboarding, so that was as close to surfing as I got. Gusto doesn't surf either, so no, we have no affiliation with surfing whatsoever, but it's a sport that, like, obviously we've got heaps of mates that are into and have always loved it. And you know, it's funny when you travel overseas, and it's one of the first things that people ask Australians. They think that we all surf for some reason, so they get rather disappointed when I say that I don't. But it's definitely something that I'd love to do. I just watch from afar.
So how are you feeling ahead of the performance?
Yeah, really excited actually. Like Manly's a place that I've kind of been. I played a lot of gigs there when I was young, coming up in different bands, and also just like going to the beach and hanging out as well. And my dad used to take me to the jazz festivals there actually when I was a kid. And so I've spent a lot of time in Manly, and we're really stoked that we're playing a gig there, and it's free as well. Is really cool because it's rare that we get to do that, and luckily the Australian Open has allowed us to be in that position. So yeah, we're super stoked. We can't wait.
And just mentioned then, your dad took you to jazz festivals. That seems like something I wouldn't have expected from your music.
Yeah. Well, my dad's a jazz musician, and Augusto's dad's a composer, kind of like does films and stuff. So we did come from musical backgrounds, but yeah, my dad was a trumpet player in Sydney for 40 years. So he used to drag me to all kinds of gigs and stuff when I was a kid, and probably when I was so young that I didn't actually care, but I enjoyed sliding across the dance floor on my knees more so than listening to the music. But I have vivid memories of hanging out on the Stein in Manly and watching jazz as a kid. So yeah, it's going to be nice to be back there.
And for the show, you have Elk Road performing the opening duties as well. Are you fans of his work?
Yeah, totally. I don't think we've played a gig with him before. But yeah, no, we've been kind of keeping an eye on him as he's been coming up, and we like his music. It's really cool. And you know, there's so many great new producers coming out of the woodwork in Australia at the moment, and as we travel internationally, people are really looking to Australia for what's going on now, which is such a great thing to be a part of as well. So yeah, we can't wait to actually check out Elk Road's show and see it live.
What do you think has spurred on that growth of young producers?
I don't know. Like I think it's got a lot to do with the platform, like the internet, and the way, and Ableton, the music production software, and the way music's kind of can be so easily composed now. Definitely has a lot to do with it. Like the way it can be shared and kind of, you know, sent with a mouse click is, it's crazy. You know, it hasn't been around for that long, but it's just kind of exploded in the last 5 years. Like I think obviously guys like Flume had a lot to do with the rise of the beat scene over here. It's not like it wasn't going on, like it's been always going on for years. I mean, we've been a part of it for a long time, but it just gained a lot more international exposure, I guess. And Flume kind of definitely opened the door for a lot of other guys, including ourselves. So it's since that's happened, I guess it's really inspired a lot of people in Australia, because they can, a lot of kids coming up producing can see that change happening and that shift, and into themselves, well, I can do that. I can write beats on my computer and I'll have a crack. And and so you get a lot of really young, talented kids coming up that have a great, unique sound. And I guess now that the infrastructure, I guess you could call it, is in place, it enables these kids to get heard a lot easier. So it's a really positive thing, I think.
And following the Australian Open show, are there plans for an Australian tour in the near future?
No, not in the immediate future. Actually, it's pretty much one of our last shows. I think we've got one more show afterwards, interstate, and then that's it. We've been touring off the back of Dark Knight Sweetlight now for a little while, so we're keen to get back in the studio and write more music. That's pretty much our number one focus, and hopefully we'll have a single coming out later this year, and then we'll have the next record out next year and kick back in with some more shows.
Great. And lastly, what can people expect from the show?
Well, if you haven't seen us, it's kind of like a mashup of kind of DJing and live performing, like live playing. We're kind of like a hybrid band DJ setup, and we have a bunch of instruments like keyboards and samplers and drum pads and also turntables, and we basically just mash up our music in a kind of high energy way and showcase, I guess, what we can play live, what we can do, and also above all just kind of get everyone partying and having a good time. We just like to see people smiling and dancing, so that's what we try and bring at every show, just bring those good vibes.
Perfect. That's all I need. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck with the show.
No worries, mate. Thanks a lot.
I hope everyone enjoyed listening to my conversation with Luke, and if you can, be sure to head along to their free show this weekend. If you enjoyed this interview, please subscribe to my channel, bookmark my website, jamiapsmedia.com, and support over on patreon.com/jamiapsmedia so that I can continue to bring you more interviews like this in the future. Thanks.